So, day 5 of the trial of Christopher Behall. In Iowa, what happened? He actually took the stand. Stay tuned. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Yes, day 5 is in the books. The jury, as I am recording this, is deliberating the fate of Christopher Behall. And frankly, I don't know what's taking them so long, because after yesterday's testimony, he pretty much convicted himself on the stand. Probably not a good idea to have taken the stand. It's never a good idea, but he did it in any case. So the state had rested the evening before yesterday. The defense puts on their case. The first person they put on the stand is Dr. Doyle. Dr. Al Doyle. He is a expert in substance abuse, chemical dependency, alcoholism, and addiction medicine. And he had a lot to say about alcoholism. The more you drink, the drunker you're going to get. Anyway, he says alcohol, it's like a sledgehammer to the brain. It definitely, he kept talking about gammas. Some gammas. I studied the brain, never heard of a gamma, but anyway, I guess it's a new theory. Alcohol affects this gamma in your brain and suppresses your memories. And really, of all the things he had to say, this was probably the most important, that alcoholics do have blackouts. It can be from a few minutes to days, where the alcohol is blocking all memory of what occurred during that time. So he talked about the different levels. We knew, most of us are familiar with alcohol level of 0.08. If you exceed a 0.08, which is like 80, you are considered legally not able to drive. But alcoholics can function with 300, 400, 500 levels. Yeah. He said at about 200, which would be a 0.20, you're going to start slurring your words. At 0.3, this is when it's really, you're going to start having serious issues. The non-alcoholic person, you're going to have some serious issues here. You're going to be falling down drunk, staggering around, not being able to see. But alcoholics, they can function. And then if you're a non-alcoholic and you're getting up to like 0.5, then we're talking, we're talking about alcohol poisoning, and you might not survive. So he talked some more about, how alcoholics can function at these high doses, and that it does disrupt their sleep. He says you can take a couple of drinks and you can go to sleep, but you're only going to be sleeping for a few hours, where when you wake up, you're going to have to drink again to get back to sleep, to get your full 8 hours. And then you're not really going into REM sleep. You're not that sleep we all really, really need. Then he talked about how it disrupts impulse, or it affects impulse control, alcohol, which is where you get the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Someone that can be perfectly fine. Otherwise, when they get drunk, they just turn into like this crazy other person, which I think is what happened in this case. Definitely behavior that's way outside of their character. And then he talked about this blackout thing, no memory. So following the doctor's testimony, the defendant takes the stand. There was a brief recess because the judge has to go over with the defendant, you have the right not to take the stand, you're right, that whole colloquy that they have to go through, which they did not show. But it was about a 10-minute recess. They come back, he takes the stand.
Now, what is the last thing you remember with respect to you and Taylor that night?
The last thing that I remember is laying down to go to bed with her. Or not laying down to go to bed, but laying down in bed talking to her is the last thing that I consciously remember doing.
And then after that, what was the next sort of time in which you have a firm recollection of what was taking place?
A firm recollection would be waking up in the hospital.
He talked a little bit about when he met Taylor Escontrias. He thought it was maybe 2022, maybe 2023, at a place called Country Oaks Rehab, just a drug and alcohol rehab facility, residential. He said they used to do detox, but now it's just a residential treatment program, 21 days where they have meetings for many, many hours every single day. At the end of the 21 days, you can go into a halfway house and continue to participate as an outpatient, and then they help you find a job and all that good stuff. So this was not his first attempt at rehab. This was his fourth attempt. He had been in this same Country Oaks Rehab one prior time, and then he had been an outpatient a couple of prior times, so 4 times. He talked about how alcohol has affected his life. He's had 2 DUIs. He's lost multiple jobs. He's lost respect. He's lost family. He has lost friends. It's ruined his life. And he feels worthless. So he talked about preferring vodka. That was his drink of choice, but he would drink anything. You put it in front of him, he'll drink it, and he'll finish the bottle. Here's the thing, though. These 2 meet in rehab, and he said they were just friends. He says, I'm kind of shy. It took him like about a month and a half. They were actually in the halfway house after rehab. You know, in rehab, they would talk and they were friends and stuff, but it was probably month and a half, 6 weeks or so before they actually became a romantic relationship type thing. She didn't have anywhere to go, so they decided they'd get a place together. They started drinking again the day after they left rehab. So, does rehab really work? Not in this case. Anyway, the morning of March 13th, they wake up 6 o'clock in the morning. They're all set. They're going to go get they're going to donate plasma. I got to find out how much you get paid for this, because I'm very curious. How much do you get paid for donating plasma? $200. Up to $200 your first week. I need to go. What the heck? How often can you do that? I could make a career out of that. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Anyway, that day, his blood pressure was too high. He couldn't donate plasma. $200. Wow. All right. But she was able to. So they get their money, and then they decide to go shopping. They go to Aldi's and buy chocolate chip cookies. I guess that was breakfast. I don't know. Then they go to the dollar store because she needs some foundation. Then they go to another store. I couldn't catch the name, but they bought soda there. And then finally they go to Casey's. Love me some Casey's pizza. It's the best. Casey's to buy vodka and cigarettes. I didn't know Casey's sold vodka. In our state, I don't think Casey's sells hard liquor. They sell beer and wine. But in Iowa, at Casey's, you can get vodka and cigarettes. So then, and the vodka, the gallon size, not a gallon size of vodka at Casey's. Okay. Then they go and have some McDonald's. They get McDonald's, they go home, they eat their food, and they start drinking. And he says they get home like 11 or 12 o'clock-ish. And I'm going to play the rest of what occurs on the stand here because he claims that he has no memory. As we sit here today, he's got a memory of what occurred that night. But he says that during his interview, he was admitting to saying he did all these things that he remembered then, but he doesn't remember now. Take a listen.
Show you State's Exhibit 23. Recognize this?
I do.
It's your baseball bat.
Correct.
This is the bat you hit Taylor with.
Correct.
That's your blood on the bat.
Correct.
When you hit her with that bat, Taylor was facing away from you.
As far as memory I can construe and sorry, I apologize. As far as my memory withstands, yes.
You told Detective Rolling, that Taylor was facing away from you when you hit her with that bat.
Correct.
That she was on the ground, either crawling or kneeling.
That was what was said, correct?
That was what was said by you.
Correct.
And Taylor was within 5 feet or so of the front door to your apartment.
Correct.
You told Detective Rolling you believe Taylor was crawling toward the door when you hit her with the bat.
Correct.
And you told Detective Rolling you didn't know why Taylor was crawling toward the door.
Correct.
You thought it was probably to leave or get help or something.
Correct.
You told Detective Rolling you remember Taylor screaming.
Correct.
Taylor was screaming while she was trying to get to the door.
Correct.
And you told Detective Rolling that she stopped screaming when you stopped swinging the bat.
Correct.
This is a point I'm not clear on. Did you stop swinging when she stopped screaming, or did she stop screaming after you stopped swinging?
I am unaware.
Did you tell Detective Rolling you couldn't put an actual number on how many times you hit Taylor with a bat?
I believe so.
You thought it was maybe 6 times?
I believe so.
Dr. Klein testified about Taylor's blunt force injuries. You inflicted those.
I would assume so.
You inflicted 15 lacerations to Taylor's head.
According to evidence.
You inflicted 1 abrasion to her head.
According to evidence.
You inflicted 1 contusion to her head.
According to evidence.
You don't dispute that, do you?
I can't dispute the evidence in front of us.
You inflicted 1 abrasion to her back.
According to evidence.
You inflicted 6 contusions to her back.
According to evidence.
And you inflicted another 4 contusions to her upper extremities.
According to evidence.
You approach the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Show you Exhibit 29. Recognize this?
I do.
That's your knife, isn't it?
It is.
It's got Taylor's blood on it.
It does.
And after you were done beating Taylor with the bat, Exhibit 23, you stabbed her with Exhibit 29.
I'm going to object argumentative.
After you hit Taylor with the bat, you stabbed her with the knife that states Exhibit 37.
I believe that was what was said, yes.
Yep. And you told Detective Rolling you remember stabbing Taylor?
Yes.
You stabbed her in the throat
I believe that's what was said, yes.
by you.
Correct.
And you stabbed Taylor in the throat while she was by the front door to your apartment
I believe that's what was said, yes.
by you.
me, correct.
And you told Detective Rolling you couldn't say why you stabbed her,
Correct.
but you thought maybe it was because Taylor was still moving and you might as well put her out of her misery given how much damage you'd already done to her
Correct. That was what was said.
by you.
Correct.
You told Detective Rolling that you remembered stabbing Taylor with the knife 2 to 3 times.
Correct.
Do you still remember that as you sit here today?
Do I still remember exactly what? I'm sorry.
Let's break it down. Do you still remember stabbing Taylor that night, March 13th to 14th of 2024?
No.
Taylor had 6 stab wounds to her neck,
According to evidence, yes.
and she had another 7 stab wounds to her torso.
According to evidence, yes.
You don't dispute those?
I cannot dispute the evidence displayed.
All right. And you're the one that caused those stab wounds.
I am unaware.
Do you think someone else did it?
I cannot say for sure either way.
Is that simply because sitting here today, you've forgotten stabbing her with the knife?
No, sir. What was being attested to is that I said to Detective Rawlings that she was stabbed 2 times, 2 to 3 times.
You told him, Detective Rowling, that you're the one who stabbed her 2 to 3 times.
I believe that's what was said, yes.
When you told Detective Rowling that you remembered stabbing Taylor, did you remember stabbing Taylor?
At the time, yes.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Show you State's Exhibit 25. Do you recognize this?
I do.
Is this your screwdriver?
It is.
It's got Taylor's blood on it.
Yes.
You told Detective Rowling you didn't remember anything about a screwdriver.
Correct.
Do you remember anything about a screwdriver today?
No.
Do you agree that you stabbed Taylor with that screwdriver?
No.
You agree she had 23 stab wounds from that screwdriver?
According to evidence, yes.
She had 9 stab wounds from the screwdriver in her head.
According to evidence, yes.
She had 3 stab wounds from the screwdriver in her neck.
According to evidence, yes.
6 stab wounds from the screwdriver in her torso.
According to evidence, yes.
5 more stab wounds to her right upper extremity.
According to evidence, yes.
And you did that to her.
I cannot say.
If you didn't do it, who did?
I cannot say.
You killed Taylor Escontrias?
I cannot say.
Okay, so to wrap all this up, his attorney finishes up, comes back on redirect and says, "You don't have any memory of what happened that night after you went to bed." No, I don't. I have no memory of it. Okay. But he's basically just admitted everything. Everything. Now, closing arguments were, the prosecution walked the jury through the law, and, there's 2 charges, first-degree murder. And with first-degree murder, you don't have to show a plan, but you have to show there was an intent to commit the murder. An intent can form in a second. And he talks about there was 40 to 50 acts in which this intent could have formed. The stabbing, he had to switch weapons twice. That certainly shows there's some intent there. Now, the defense's argument was kind of off-putting to me, very off-putting. I don't even want to repeat it. It's so weird. That after the crime was committed, the murder, with the baseball bat, all the stuff that came after that, the knives, the stabbing, all that's not a crime because she's already dead. And they didn't charge her with desecration of a body. Charge him with desecration of a body. What? That was the weirdest argument. Okay. So he didn't intend to kill her, but he intended all the stuff afterwards. I don't know where he was going with that, but it was just, if I was a juror, I'd be like, what? No. I'm not buying that one. Anyway. So, as I've been recording here, they have come back with a verdict. Here is the verdict.
All rise. Jury entering.
You may be seated. I understand the jury has reached a verdict. If you would please hand that to my court attendant. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of domestic abuse, assault with the intent to inflict serious injury. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your service as jurors. I would assume the defense would like the jury polled.
So sentencing is in May, where we will hear victim impact statements. I think you saw some of her family members sitting in the courtroom there. We will hear from those family members. I expect we're going to hear how alcohol ruined both of their lives, and crushed a couple of families. Just the horrible, horrible effects of alcohol and alcoholism. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. That wraps up this case. I'll see what I have in store for you tomorrow. Have a great day. Take care, everybody. Bye.